Welcome back to DreamHack Winter 2018. We are about to get into our next match of the round, which is Daniel Beadle taking on A83650. But first, I've got some announcements from around the tavern.
Okay.
Board control, 7-0. Perfect match record.
Obviously.
And Orange is 6-1, meaning he needs to win one more match to put himself in his third consecutive top 16 DreamHack.
Yeah, I actually just spoke to the both of them. I asked them how they're doing. Board control said exceedingly well, which is how I knew he was 7-0.
He's doing great.
And then Orange said, I'm doing almost exceedingly well.
And then Tyler as well is at 6-1. Tyler, of course, wants to make top 16, but if he at least gets top 32, he gets 4 points, and that puts him at 175 total points for 2-star Master.
That's what you want.
Taking a look at this match here, it's Paladin banned on both sides. Daniel won game number 1 with his Even Shaman. A8 then countered with the Even Warlock. He won that. They are currently going to be the Even Warlock up for A8. And then Daniel looking to counter that with either his Zoo Warlock
and
or his Odd Rogue.
It's going to be the Odd Rogue, isn't it? Odd Rogue is considered very strong against the more control-y style Warlocks. There's all sorts to say about these lineups, about these players. A83650, obviously, very well known by now. He will be a Hearthstone World Championship competitor early next year. Daniel B, a little bit less well known, a lot less well known to be fair. I was having a chat with Lorinda. He was giving me the stats about the guy. He said he's a bit of an up-and-comer. He likes to reflect on his games a lot afterwards, that kind of thing. And he's brought a very aggressive lineup. Even Paladin is the only not aggressive deck he's brought, really. Odd Rogue, Even Shaman, and Zoo Warlock, which you could almost argue is an inconsistent strategy, given that he could have gone with Odd Paladin and just gone full Smork. But hey, the Even Paladin ate up a ban, so it's done something right.
You go Odd Paladin with a full aggressive lineup, maybe you can get the better of Hunter, but I don't know if that's a strategy I'd like to operate under. I prefer the hybrid lineup, something more similar to what A8 has brought here, even though his Paladin actually was an Odd Paladin. Yeah.
It was, yeah.
I like that. Odd Paladin, Even Warlock, Death Rattle Hunter, and
Token
Druid. Seems like a solid strategy to me. Daniel could have gone for the full aggro, but he's decided to swerve a little bit with the Even Paladin. No matter, that was banned anyway. So it is going to be the Odd Rogue for Daniel, though Quest Rogue has been exceedingly good so far this weekend. Odd Rogue, I don't think we've actually seen on stream up until now. Still a strong choice against a field rife with Even Warlocks.
True. It is a big surprise to me, actually, just quite how little of Odd Rogue we've seen recently, because for the longest time, ever since Baku has existed back in the Witchwood days, Odd Rogue has just been considered one of the top meta decks. The best aggro deck, people have been saying, or like that versus Odd Paladin in terms of which is the best aggro deck. But yeah, Daniel B has found a spot here, found a matchup where it should be able to flourish. No one drop, no Hench Clan Thug in his opening hand though, so he's going to need to pick up those tools as soon as possible. Deadly Poison, not the 1-mana card that he was looking for, but should help him out at some point.
Well, part of the reason that Odd Rogue, fell out of favor so much was in fact Odd Paladin, because Odd Paladin is crazy against Odd Rogue, and when Odd Paladin came back into the meta, Odd Rogue kind of withered away a little bit. And then, Quest Rogue with Fan of Knives is okay against Odd Paladin, but now that Even Paladin is even more popular than Odd Paladin, I would say, Odd Rogue has another good slot in the meta.
Well, the other problem with Odd Rogue is that it's cripplingly weak to any of the Druid decks, right?
Yes.
So I guess losing to Druid and Odd Paladin, yes, that's probably enough to push you out.
You can ban one of them, but oftentimes they're included in the same lineup.
However,
so things get difficult then.
These guys are both 5-1 in the Swiss, as you were saying before, which is a great score. A win here gets them so close to that top 16. And hey, Soulfire isn't the worst card you could get from Blink Fox.
That's 4 damage over the top. The way that the Warlock manages to stabilize this matchup is by getting quite low and then going for Hooked Reaver or Giant or Twilight Drake plus Sun Fury Protector, trying to put up a wall and then heal behind it with Blood Reaver Gul'dan or Spellstones. Soulfire is a way to get around that wall.
This has just worked out beautifully for Daniel B now. Getting the Hench Clan that he can play next turn with Soulfire if he wants to.
Absolutely beautiful.
Like, say Mountain Giant gets played this turn. the dagger and the Soulfire will deal with the Mountain Giant. Hedge Clan will get the buff.
And the Blink Fox gets to go face yet again, putting A8 at 16. Unless he elects to tap and play the Giant here, which he does have the ability to do.
Aha! Just out of range of that Soulfire that I'm sure A83650 definitely is not expecting.
I like the Drakes before the Giants in this matchup. The Drakes simply have a higher health total, and 4 attack versus 8 attack early on in this matchup,
it still kills
kind of
everything,
irrelevant. Yeah,
right?
You need to kill the Henge Clan Thug. That's going to be at 4 health when it comes out every time.
So many.
Twilight Drake gets the job done.
Doesn't kill Tar Creeper though, ironically. Oh, that mouse was ever so slowly hovering towards the Soulfire there. Like, am I doing it? Am I trading everything into this Drake?
It would have to be...
You play the Henge Clan first.
Well, I would think that Daniel, if he's going to Soulfire, would go Soulfire, SI7 agent, and the dagger. But there is a... Oh! Well, yeah, with the Leroy pickup, he's going face.
Okay, sure. Tar Creeper protects that Blink Fox a little longer. It's sort of weak to Hellfire.
This pushes 7 more damage. A8 goes to 8. If Leroy's not lethal by itself, and there's no dagger.
But if A8
active.
does Hellfire, then it will be lethal.
Yeah.
So... Ow.
Hooked Reaver and Prey. I think the Leroy pickup off the top influenced
Swayed
that decision
Yeah,
greatly.
Yeah.
Without the Leroy, the Soulfire going to face would have been a little bit too risky, because doesn't necessarily look like that Daniel could close out the game in the next couple of turns without the Leroy present.
Well, now it's looking like Daniel is going to struggle to close out this game. He gets the Cobalt Scalebane down. Whichever minion this buff hits, it's actually pretty good. If it's the Tar Creeper, more health, great. The Blink Fox, it's harder to deal with, cool. Is that enough, though? Like,
I think you would much rather it hit the Tar Creeper, as the Blink Fox just dies from Hellfire. And I'm not sure it's enough.
Hellfire is a very risky play for A83650 at any point in the next few turns. He really needs to find some of that healing. He needs to get to 10 mana so he can play Gul'dan. He needs to find a Spellstone.
That's a lot of things he's got to do.
Yeah, it is.
Well, the Scalebane is the biggest threat by itself on the board. It's also the cleanest play. I think that's probably why Daniel's leaning towards it. Hoping for the buff on the Tar Creeper here. Now the Blink Fox can get killed by a Spellstone or a Hellfire, and then that buff is not really relevant. Not that it would have been incredibly relevant anyway. But landing on the Tar Creeper and forcing the Hooked Reaver to trade in could have made a bit of a difference.
I think if it landed on the Tar Creeper, A83650 would have just silenced it.
For sure, but...
It would have been a very easy decision for him then.
Yeah,
obviously.
Daniel doesn't necessarily know that there's a Spellbreaker present, though.
Of course. Shroom Brewer is a good way for A83650 to heal. If only he can find a way to fit that into a turn. Maybe there's a Defile turn somewhere? No, there isn't.
Well, importantly, we're ignoring the best tool that Daniel has in this matchup, period, and that's Vilespine Slayer. He does not have it just yet, but any turn going forward, as long as he holds on to the Argent Squire, he'll have an activator for it.
You know, Cora, when you get to that point in a tournament where you're facing off against the Golden Celebration card back, you know you've done pretty well.
You've done something right. Okay, so Defile just to soften up the Cobalt Scalebane, allow the Drake to trade over that, and then A8 wanting to preserve the Hooked Reaver, even though this is the first turn that a 1-drop and a Vilespine could come down. A8 would not be dead still, because
it'd be
he's
close.
at 8, the Blink Fox is only 6, but it'd be very close.
And A8 does not have any healing left in the deck, so after that, an SI7 agent would be enough to finish him off. Very risky indeed. I agree. I think I would have preferred to see the healing on the face that turn, but it does look like it's paid off.
I like this. It's not dead immediately on board to the Blink Fox. It forces some other source of damage to kill the Hooked Reaver if there is no Vilespine Slayer there. And you know what? A8's at a disadvantage in this matchup. I think it's perfectly fine to assume you have to get a little bit lucky.
That's fair. That is fair to say that he's reached the point in the game where he says, if there's a Valspine Slayer, I lose. So let's just play as if there isn't, because then maybe I can manufacture a situation in which I win.
Now Daniel just needs to keep this board taunt-free, because at any point, Leroy plus the dagger to face is lethal if there's no healing, or Leroy plus Cold Blood if there's no dagger present. But he's getting to the mana totals where he can dagger up pretty much every turn.
So many
The Geist will take away the Cold Bloods, and if there's a second Deadly Poison in the deck, that'll be burned as well. Looking like this may be Dread Infernal. A8 doesn't really have any other option. He can clear both minions this way, but then Leroy is just lethal.
But again, does he reach that position where he has to think to himself, if my opponent has Leroy, I lose. I'm not going to play around it. Or is that one step too far?
The way to play around Leroy here would be to tap and look for Stun Fury. Or Second Hook Reaver, I suppose.
So
But
it's
he
not
just-
practical.
Yeah, he just doesn't feel like that's the winning line here. If there's no
even
Leroy...
playing the Cold Blood, look at that.
If there's no Leroy here for Daniel, then A8's got a really substantial board, and next turn would feel much safer searching for some taunt. However, Daniel queued that matchup for a reason, very favorable for the Rogue. And he's going to go up to a 2-1 lead, bringing this to game number 4. He'll be back on the Odd Rogue. What does A8 have left remaining?
Token Druid,
His... Okay.
which is very strong against the Odd Rogue, so it looks like it's going to come down to Zulok versus Token Druid later on. Assuming that this game isn't completely off the wall.
Yes, assuming this isn't just a blowout for the Rogue, which...
It can
There's
happen.
chances, yeah. You get an early Henge Clan Thug down, buff that up with Fungal Mancer,
One
Cobalt
drop into
Scalebane.
Dagger into Henge Clan can do things. The problem is, with all Druids, but especially with Token Druid, is cards like Spellstone, Swipe, Spreading Plague, Nourish to get to the big cards even faster. And Token Druid is kind of the most anti-aggro of the Druid decks.
And just taking a look at the Odd Rogue list from Daniel, there's no funny business, nothing like Fan of Knives in the list to prevent a turn 4 Whispering Woods from A8 just to try and fight on the board a little bit. So this one naturally does favor the Druid with the early removal, the ability to provide their own aggression, but also so much defensive potential with Spreading Plague and Ultimate Infestation. We'll have to see, though. Like you said, 1-drop plus Cold Blood or 1-drop Dagger Henge Clan Thug. It's a lot of pressure. A8 going to mulligan away that Nourish, one of the best cards in the Druid class.
That's crazy.
But Spellstone and Swipe are just more important in this matchup.
He did get both, though. So what's he mulliganing for if he throws this away? Is he searching for a Wild Growth, maybe? A second Spellstone?
Malfury and the Pestilence really good in this matchup.
Yeah,
Wild Growth is simply better than Nourish.
Daniel B has ended up with Myra's Unstable Element, which can also make a very big difference here, as A8 does ultimately decide to keep the Nourish, and he gets Malfurion anyway from the one card that he threw away.
I think it's fine to keep the Nourish. Wild Growth is better than Nourish in the early turns, but the Nourish helps you bridge the gap to Ultimate Infestation, which might just win A8 the late game.
Yep.
With no 1-drop to play the Cold Blood on next turn, Daniel's early game's looking a little bit weaker.
I don't know, Cora. He's got 2 Blink Foxes. That's a Whispering Woods and a Savage Roar. He's good.
Sure. I mean, ideally, Daniel would have found Firefly. He would go Firefly this turn into Flame Elemental Cold Blood. But he still has one more turn to pick up a Dire Mole or an Argent Squire. No dice. A8 does find that early Whispering Woods, however.
This is the thing about odd decks, though, is that Daniel doesn't mind hero powering on turn 2. It's a good use of 2 mana. Next turn he curves into Blink Fox. It's not that powerful start that he wanted, but it's fine. Fine until that Whispering Woods comes out, and then the Soul of the Forest follows it up. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh look, and there's the 1-drop.
A little bit late.
Okay.
That's quite good.
Well, sort of, but he'd lose his Odd Rogue hero power.
Ah, but now the hero power does 3 damage. It just costs,
That's the thing.
more mana.
Right now, the hero power does 4 damage over 2 turns.
All right, Whispering Woods for 6 wisps. Daniel now has to try and mitigate this board as much as he possibly can. Or just ignore it and hope that A8 doesn't have anything to back up the wisps. We can see he has 2 copies of Soul of the Forest. So he's not going to have any trouble here.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if one of those Soul of the Forest wasn't played this turn. Because he can play the Soul of the Forest and just trade in the Wisps. Turns them all into 2/2s while clearing away one of Daniel B's minions. This seems really strong to me. Doesn't need to trade in the other 2 Wisps. He could just go face with them. He's got a second Soul of the Forest to follow up with next turn for even more of these death rattles. Yeah, just gonna go face.
Yes, A8 has to play defensively early on, but he's an aggressive deck too. And especially against a very aggressive deck like the Rogue, for the Druid to be setting the pace this early on is huge.
That all being said,
Here we go. This is a good Fungalmancer.
this is a good turn. Wow, to the point where Daniel B isn't even trading everything. He's just ignoring these Treants.
Okay.
He's saying, I kill you before you kill me.
Well, he already has seen 1 Woods and 1 Soul of the Forest. I don't know that the I kill you before you kill me thought process is entirely accurate.
I don't think it happens.
Especially since there's 2 branching pads, 2 ultimate infestations, and Malfurion the Pestilent
Right,
in the
that's
deck for the Druid. But I also don't think trading would win Daniel the game here, so maybe this has a smaller margin for success.
Daniel really isn't in the worst spot here. The fact that he's got Myra's unstable element as well. So when he does run out of sort of immediate ways to win, ways to help him out, control the board, he can just play that, try and win very quickly.
Daniel shaking his head, seeing that second Soul of the Forest played. It's only 3 Treants, but 3 Treants is enough to fight for the board for another couple of turns. And that gets through to Malfurion.
The Wisp gets traded in, and that creates 2 Treants. So now there's 4. That's, board's getting wide.
Dagger's going to make pretty quick work of these Treants, though. With the Henge Clan Thug just picked up, Daniel's got another threat. And he can even drop his own Malfurion next turn. I mean, it's silly, but effective. Both Soul of the Forests are gone.
Yeah, maybe this is really fringe and more of a cute play than a good play. I'm thinking when Daniel Malfurions, he probably wants to have a fully equipped dagger because he can then deadly poison it, and suddenly the hero power deals 7 damage a turn.
That's huge.
For 2 turns.
You do sacrifice the ability to dagger up, obviously, but if you have a dagger up, the next couple of turns can be really strong.
That's the thing. If he loses his dagger forever, that deadly poison never gets played. I don't believe you physically can play it unless you have a weapon equipped, which means
Myra's is just strictly
always
worse.
Yeah. So yeah.
Fledgling's tempting, especially because you could go Fledgling, Forager, kill the tree, re-dagger, set up for Malfurion Deadly Poison next turn.
Actually, all of these Druid cards are making Myra's worse. Forager adds an expensive card to your hand that you're going to have to wait and play later. Malfurion is an expensive card.
Tomb Lurker, excuse me. It's not... The Corpse Raiser is the one that gives your minion Death Rattle, resummon this minion. The Tomb Lurker does what, Falcone?
It does something to a Death Rattle minion.
That's correct. Add a random Death Rattle minion that died this game to your hand. Of course, yes. Was just testing you.
I did something to a Death Rattle minion.
Yeah, that card's really bad.
Luckily, Daniel B didn't know what it does either, and so he had to hover over it and showed us all.
Hey, I knew what Black Howl Gunspire did.
I mean, so did I.
I'll take that one.
I think only one person in this room didn't know what Black Howl Gunspire did.
Be nice. Tomb Lurker is inconsequential, but Tortolan Forager just gets you a minion that has 5 or more attack. So there's a lot of minions that have 5 or more attack.
Okay, so now Deadly Poison Malfurion is an option. It's not ideal because he can't fit in the hero power on the same turn. He can't deal with one of these scarabs with a dagger hit. It's gonna be Tomb Lurker.
It's just a 5/3.
Pretty sure, yeah. I'm pretty sure no death battles have been played this game.
This lets Daniel cold blood the Tortollan Forager to clear up one of the scarabs, but the Tomb Lurker is just going to die to the hero power. And now we can see A8. Things were looking maybe a little bit rougher if this turn from Daniel were really, really good. If this were like Cobalt Scalebane plus Henge Clan Thug, for instance.
Another option would have been Deadly Poison, Cold Blood, and Valspine all this turn. It would have allowed Daniel to comfortably deal with both minions. And it would have made it... Whereas with this play, Daniel has allowed A8 to clear the board without even needing to play any cards. But if he'd fit in the Valspine as well that turn, then A8 would have had to do something to deal with the Valspine. So I'm not sure how much I agree with playing the Tomb Lurker this turn. But I guess he's thinking that Valspine will come in handy later. I'm not sure when. There aren't many big minions in this deck.
He's got to get the Tomb Lurker out of the hand so Myra's can draw an additional card. And now's a better time than ever, I suppose, to play this card. Force A8 to have to hero power into it. Although you would rather he have to hero power going into turn 10, but at that point you would just UI the Tomb Lurker most likely.
Right.
Especially since Daniel B is having a hard enough time presenting a single threat. It's really unlikely he'd be able to get another one alongside the Tomb Lurker. Alright, so Teacher Oaken summons. That should summon the second Teacher.
It's a strong board, but A8 has left that Tomb Lurker alive. Though I don't think it matters too much with 34 health.
Well, Malfurion can scarab it up. And then Daniel has the option to hero power, kill off a Teacher. He doesn't... We've seen Daniel play this deck. He doesn't want to trade. But he can kill both Teachers if he thinks he has to.
He has to here, I'm almost certain. Like, trading in this Tomb Lurker into a 3/5, while spining the other one down, sets up for Malfurion next turn with the buffed up dagger already equipped.
No, I think you just Malfurion this turn and then hero power for 3 attack and then kill the Teacher that way.
Yeah, sure. No, that makes sense too.
And I guess Daniel just has to hope that A8 does not have
Ultimate Infestation.
Anything good. His hand could easily be like Savage Roar Power of the Wild.
It could equally be Ultimate Infestation, Ultimate Infestation.
Yeah. Alright, so he does kill them both.
Nourish is like the middle ground. It's kind of bad for Daniel. Not the end of the world just yet.
That's an Ultimate Infestation off the top, though.
Couldn't even see the card. You could just tell by how quickly he grabbed it. Like, there's only one card.
That you would grab that quickly. A8, if he'd played Nourish this turn, he likely would have found additional resources that he could play for the next turn, but at least he wouldn't have been able to develop anything this turn. Ultimate Infestation just does it all.
39 health now for A83650, and it is the odd rogue's job to dismantle that health total, get rid of the armor, and actually put that number to 0. It's not happening, is it?
No. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is not going to happen for Daniel.
It's kind of final push time now, though. He's going to play every card other than Myra's Unstable Element, and then I expect next turn we will see Myra's Unstable Element, and then a prompt concede straight after that. As we get the 7 attack dagger finally going in. We're talking about the deckhand. I'm a little bit surprised about this because it means he'll have to play it next turn, probably just before Myra's Unstable Element. It also means this deckhand is never going to have charge now because he just gave up the last dagger. So I'm unsure as to why he would have wasted that opportunity to just play the 1-mana card. The only thing I can think of is that he was saving it for a combo in case he gets a Valspine or something next turn.
It's an activator, but he's going to Myra's this turn, meaning that
That deck
He's
hand,
going to find other 1-mana cards if he wants them as
Right.
activators in the future.
the deck hand is now a waste of 1 mana or a waste of 1 card space in his hand.
And now he still can't kill all of these wisps, and nothing matters because there's Branching Paths, Double Power of the Wild, and Daniel B is going to be dead.
A tangled
In the game.
web.
Yes, that is the context we're working
It's a
with.
very aggressive board of wisps, okay, Cora? I just wanted to check.
These wisps are so angry. They're going to get your address.
Can you imagine wisps just coming out of the screen? Or wispy.
Out of cards.
I try not to. I'm afraid of ghosts.
Really?
No. Well, I suppose it depends on the ghost.
Death is eternal. My turn is not.
What if it was a ghost with Lorinda's face?
I'm afraid of Lorinda's face normally.
Ah, so that you would be afraid of that ghost.
Just kidding. I mean, this is as much as Daniel could possibly do here. But Savage Roar, Paths,
Or Power of the Wild, take your pick.
any combination
Choose your path.
of the aforementioned is going to be lethal here for A8. So he's going to bring this one over to game 5.
It is going to come down to the Zoo Warlock versus A8's Token Druid. Which is actually a close matchup.
It is.
I still like the Token Druid, though.
I kind of like the Warlock in that
Ooh,
matchup.
Cora.
I kind of like the Warlock. Warlock has, Zoo in particular, the ability to go quite tall instead of wide against Druid, which it needs to. It needs to play around Spreading Plague as much as it can.
True.
But cards like Fungalmancer and Soul Infusion and Keleseth really allow the deck to do that quite easily.
That's true.
And a traditional, say, Malagos Druid would have more means of clearing the board from the Zoo with, you know, Malagos plus Swipe.
What I will say, and I think this is relevant, is that there's no Despicable Dreadlord in the Warlock deck.
That is very relevant.
And that would help with this matchup. Frankly, though, I mean, I already like the Druid in this matchup. I also like the side that has World Championship competitor A83650
That's fair.
on it.
And to be perfectly honest, you're not playing around the win condition of the Druid in any way. You're playing against Spreading Plague.
Yeah.
And when the Plague comes down, how effective it is, you know, does the Druid have the ability to buff it straight away? And in that regard, the Token Druid, I think, does have a little bit of an advantage because they're running 2 Power of the Wilds, whereas other Druids are not. So this is going to come down to, honestly, how good is the start for Daniel? Does he find Keleseth? Does he have Flame Imps? Does he get a Fungalmancer on curve? Or is he forced to go wide with more of those healing cards like Voodoo Doctor or Light Warden? Some smaller stuff that maybe isn't as threatening as it needs to be and is instead just Spreading Plague fodder.
A lot of this matchup is skill testing for the Druid as well. It's knowing when to use these removal cards like the Spellstone, when to save the Spellstone, when to use the Swipe, when to save it. We just saw A8 mulligan away at Malfurion and Swipe, but he got rewarded by the Spellstone. He wants Wild Growths, Nourishes now. He needs to get up to the mana so he can cast Cenarius Ultimate Infestation, just drawn off the top there.
Malfurion is a little bit too slow in this matchup. You're happy to have it on turn 7, but you can't keep it in your mulligan.
Yeah.
And the Swipe as well, because of all of the buffs that I mentioned, is not going to be as good as you would think.
Yeah.
This isn't an odd paladin you're playing against. But the hand for Daniel B is not awesome. With the Fungal Enchanter, if he were to find Happy Ghoul or Light Warden, he could maybe get a nice board out in the next couple turns. But at this point, Kobold Librarian is not the one drop you want. You want Flame Imp all day, every day.
Yep, not an ideal start for Daniel B. Compared to what he could come up with, makes A8's turn very easy, just hero power the thing down. Picking up the second Spellstone is great as well. Again, he needs a Wild Growth, he needs these other early game tools. He'd like an Oaken Summons, start getting Violet Teachers out, Whispering Woods, that kind of thing. But in the meantime, A8 is okay.
So this is rough from the Zoo perspective. Doubling Imp into Doubling Imp is the best that Daniel B has right now, but this is just really bad in the face of Spreading Plague. Fortunately for him, A8 hasn't had any ramp, so Plague's still going to be a couple turns away. But still,
Yeah.
Daniel needs to keep his board as small yet strong as possible.
The Solarium is not the card he wanted in his opening hand either. Like he wants cards like, yeah, Light Warden, great. Now where's the Voodoo Doctor, Happy Ghoul to follow that up with? That's the start my opponents always get when I'm against a zoo deck.
Flame Imp, Coin, Voodoo Doctor, Happy Ghoul.
Happy Ghoul, yeah. Don't forget the second Happy Ghoul, that's important. It's always there.
That's the hand.
So many possibilities.
Oh, he's a Volcano Gamer. Oh, we like him. Sometimes you just need a little bit of lava to help you think. Clear out the brain.
Something I really enjoy about DreamHacks, as opposed to other events, is that we actually watch directly from one of the players' perspectives, and that means we see his mouse movements and everything. When they're fidgeting with the board and clicking on things, we can see them do that, and it's just another way of getting sort of inside the player's head. Something you miss out on when you spectate through spectator mode because you don't get to see those clicks.
Some of the players have a lot going on in their head, and that manifests as a lot of clicks on the board.
I click on the board constantly when I'm playing.
Are you a nervous clicker?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Daniel played that Librarian this turn instead of the Doubling Imp because he wanted this Light Warden on the board. Plain and simple. Fungal Enchanter can come down next turn. Light Warden gets buffed. That's the biggest threat he has available to him right now. And A8 has a really uncomfortable turn 4. If he'd kept that swipe, he would have been able to clean up a little bit of this board. But, I mean, other options, just double Spellstone on two pretty underwhelming minions. At the very least, this Light Warden's got to go.
It does. I think he holds on to the other one. He's taking 4 damage from these 2 doubling ins. Like, it's fine. He's got time.
What he doesn't have is a Nourish. What he really needs is a Nourish. Nourish would, I think, just about close this out. If he finds Nourish off the top, for mana, you put down 2 Arcane Tyrants, Malfurion on the following turn, and then you go so cleanly into the Ultimate Infestation. But that's really all that his hand is missing to come together.
A8 wishes he could clear this board. He wants to play around Fungalmancer really badly. Wild Growth is... that's something. It allows him to play Malfurion next turn. Not quite as good as Nourish would have been, but it's something.
You can just see how much additional damage a Flame Imp could have connected this game, or could have allowed that Fungal Enchanter to connect, because the Spellstone likely would have been used very early on. Here he's going to land a pretty nice Fungalmancer, but the follow-up isn't Doomguard, for instance. It's not second Fungalmancer, it's a bunch of small stuff again.
This is sort of the start of the stabilization, though. This is the okay, taunts up, the better hero power. You can't get through this at the moment, although with that Doomguard pickup, Daniel B can start to deal some serious damage.
Going to be able to push through both of these Scarabs this turn.
Comfortably, and then push forward to the phase. Plus Soulfire if he wants to.
If he can.
Well, if it doesn't get discarded, sure.
This is the uncomfortable part of playing a Zoo Warlock. And he actually discarded both of the cards that he couldn't play after the Doomguard anyway.
Yeah, that's fine.
Holding on to, very importantly, that Solarium. That's going to be some really valuable reload.
Yeah. I was wondering if he'd consider Soulfiring this turn as well, but I think, as you say, the Solarium's just invaluable.
Oh, boy.
That's what you want off the top of your deck. That's the card.
That goes into the Cenarius, into the Ultimate Infestation. Oh, my goodness.
Double Arcane Tyrant comes down as well.
Wow.
And this is the turn, isn't it? Like I was saying to Derek yesterday, that's a great Spreading Plague. Not because the Spreading Plague's particularly good, but because double Arcane Tyrant backing it up is just so much pressure on the back end.
Solarium needs to find second Doomguard or second Fungalmancer or Mossy Horror if Daniel's running it. Finds the Doomguard.
And plays the Doomguard.
Who dares summon me?
Okay.
If he's going to jam a 1-drop, he should have played the Flame Imp first. So you'd much rather have the Flame Imp than the Voidwalker, I think. Well,
Is he playing around any sort of lethal setup?
Maybe. I suppose forcing the 3 damage to go through the Voidwalker is fine. But then if he knew he wanted to play the Voidwalker, he should have just played the Voidwalker.
Right.
I think that was just more so he didn't really care what one drop he played.
Scenarios has to be the play here, right? Like buff the Scarab trade to the Voidwalker. Both
Could
Arcane.
even just put 2/2s down. No, yeah, buff the Tyrants
buff-
trade over
yeah.
the Doom Guards.
Exactly. And then
Oh, that's so good.
Only the Imp goes face next turn. That's 4 damage. But as we can see, another 4 from the Soulfire. Daniel will be only 3 damage off lethal.
No, he's got to get through the
Oh,
Scarab.
sorry. Yeah, I totally missed the fact the Scarab.
There's a 3/6 in the way,
No,
saying
that's
you're
big.
not getting through right now. So put the Soulfire where you want it, and then he's not playing Dreadlord. You said.
No, he's not.
Oh, that's just.
And this is
If
why
the Zoo's this far behind at this point, the Zoo is not winning this game.
This is why I said I think the Dreadlord can make all the difference. It's the card that deals with Whispering Woods easily, and it's the card that deals with boards like this.
The real issue this game was the weaker start from Daniel B. And of course, then you have to point to the Spreading Plague off the top from A83650. He didn't have much ramp this game, but even still, a perfectly timed Spreading Plague with 2 Arcane Tyrants to back it up is going to spell victory. And A83650 going to take game number 5, putting himself to a 6-1 record. Remember, guys, A83650 has qualified for the World Championship from the Summer Championship, so not a surprise to see him doing well in this event whatsoever.
That's why I said before, I slightly prefer the Token Druid over the Zoo in that matchup, but I very much prefer World Championship competitor over like up-and-comer. I wish all the luck in the world to Daniel B moving forward. He's still got a good shot to qualify for the top 16 if he can win the rest of his games today. But,
and
yeah.
to be fair, there were very few things that I think Daniel could have done differently. One small sequencing thing in that final game. Other than that, it was very clean. Just unfortunate that the Druid was rather well positioned in the last 2 matchups. I do think Zoo has an okay chance against Druid. It requires maybe some tech cards that he wasn't playing and a better start than he got, but you know what? It just wasn't his day this time. And like you said, 5-2, if he wins the next 2 series, he's still going to be into the top 16.
Right.
We're still not sure about the 6-3 record. When we start to see the records emerge for this round and the next round, then we'll have a better idea of exactly how many players from the 7-2 range will be making it into the top 16 and whether any 6-3s will be included as well. But that is going to do it for round number 7. We've got Boar Control qualified already for the top 16 that we know of. When we come back for round number 8, we will have more of the full picture to provide for you all at home. So don't go anywhere. Round number 8 of DreamHack Winter coming up next.